Well, hello, kids. Today, I will be telling you a story that is about redemption and forgiveness. This story is Unbroken. Unbroken talks about the life of Louis Zamperini. Louis Zamperini, as a boy, was a very, very rowdy boy. His parents did not know what to do with him. He started smoking at the age of 5, like all you young'uns do, and he drank at the age of 8. Several nights, his parents would find him on the doorstep with cops. But the worst of all, his strongest problem that he could not overcome was that of stealing. As I was saying, Louis was a very rowdy boy. He left his parents very worried, and they dreaded that there was no hope for him. And there wasn't. There was no hope for him at all, until his older brother Pete came into his life and taught him how to run track. Louis took to track like no other. He dominated the sport and won many competitions. He later went on to the Olympics, where he got to meet Adolf Hitler. Shortly after the Olympics, Louis was drafted to be a bombardier in the military on a B-24 bomber plane. While in the military, he was matched up with a crew of other men. Their crew bombed several little islands. America was at war with Japan at the time, and they made many escapades. They were a very successful crew, but eventually time caught up with them, and their plane crashed into the Pacific. When their plane hit the water, it exploded into millions of pieces. Every man on board died except for Louis and his great friend Phil. As they scrambled through the water looking for a lifeboat, Louis grabbed a hold of one, and hoisting him and Phil onto it, they survived. As they roamed around the wreckage, floating hopelessly on the raft, they saw the bodies of their dead friends. Floating further and further out to sea, they realized they had no food and no water. They decided to make a rain carrier out of a tarp, and that is how they received their water. Every day was a constant battle for food, kids. They had to kill sharks and eat their livers, and eat birds and stuff like that. It was nasty. But anyway, they survived on that boat for 47 days. So dehydrated and deranged that they were just out of their minds. But they were rescued, and when they were rescued, it was by the Japanese. You might be wondering why I've got this gun here, and to be honest, it's because this part of the story just scares the bejeepers out of me. Shortly after Louis was captured by the Japanese, he was taken to a prisoner of war camp. He stayed at this prisoner of war camp for 3 long years. They tortured him and beat him and gave him very small amounts of food and water. He grew very skinny and was demoralized daily. There was one guard in particular who was extremely mean to him. One day, he humiliated him by having every single prisoner of war man punch him in the face 1 time as hard as they could. Louis' only escape from the prisoner of war camp was the end of the war. After the war ended, Louis was rushed back to America to see his friends and family. He tried to live a normal life, but the effects of the war were too strong on him. He took to drinking, and that is what his life revolved around. Only after meeting an evangelist, Billy Graham, did he give his life up for the Lord. After being cleansed through the blood of Jesus Christ, he dedicated his life to forgiveness. He even learned to forgive those Japanese men that tortured him.